What's up, everyone? My name is Jesse, and this is The Auditorium. I react to video game music for the first time. And today is the return of the Commodore 64. This game is called Yi Er Kung Fu, and it's the main theme. Let me know if I'm saying that right. Apparently from Konami, and I think from what I googled, it's from 1984. Please let me know if that's correct. I saw a little bit of the footage, and it looks somewhat similar to how the original Street Fighter looked. So I wonder if the original Street Fighter took inspiration from this game. It looks kind of similar. Anyways, this is from the channel Cheetah Man 91, requested by Patrick over on Patreon. Thank you. Very quick before I get started, I have become a fan of the Commodore 64 music. There's not a lot that I've heard. Whatever's on this channel is all I've heard, so like 2 or 3 songs total. And it's been really cool, and I love seeing the comments of people that grew up in that era, which, you know, it surprises me. Well, it surprises me and it doesn't, but you know, that generation to be on YouTube and finding these songs, because I'm sure when they were younger, they were vibing out to these songs back then. So I think that's really cool. So anyways, Yi Er Kung Fu, main theme, Commodore 64. I am super stoked on this one. Let's go. I do not know the composer. Buzz. It's 8 minutes, so let's get lost in it. Try to imagine this in 1984, where video technology was so primitive. I hear this sound a lot in the C64. You know what's funny? Well, this may sound a little archaic and old. This is now some of the most popular stuff currently with like Undertale. It's kind of similar, you know what I mean? So this was way ahead of its time. Yeah, we straight up got like melodies and probably no percussion, but I wonder what the first video game song was to feature percussion in it. Even if it was that white noise, have just any percussion. I feel like early Nintendo stuff also was inspired from this, which makes sense. Like late 80s, early 90s Nintendo. Because they probably were kids or teenagers when they were listening to this stuff. Going into adulthood, making songs for like the Game Boy and stuff, you know? But the question is, who inspired them? Themselves. Makes you wonder, huh? We don't get a lot of historical, like, early VGM stuff here. But we have to appreciate it. It's like, without this, I wouldn't be here. Without this, a lot of stuff wouldn't be here. Maybe even Street Fighter. Who knows? Yeah, I hear that a lot in 864. Also, the length of these songs is so impressive. I can't imagine this was easy to do. I don't know anything specification of the Commodore 64. I don't even know what the 64 refers to. It's probably some memories of some kind. I don't know. This was before my time. Like, you think something like this would only last like 12 seconds of music or something. I don't know. I can only imagine being a kid at this time and just freaking out over this. Definitely can shape your love for electronic music and progressive stuff. Boom, boom, boom. Ba-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. And Konami's been around for a while. I had no idea. I don't know a lot of history when it comes to video game stuff. I've never been like a history kind of guy. Yeah, seriously, think about it. Like, at this time, like the same way you might have felt when hearing Undertale for the first time, at whatever age, that's probably how these people felt hearing this in 1984. Which is probably your parents, maybe, or your uncle or someone, you know? They too were once young. Video games were not really, I don't want to say socially acceptable, but like, they're nowhere like they are now. You were probably a total outcast if you played video games back then. I would have to assume. It wasn't cool yet. Damn, dude, there's like... Has it looped yet? Cheers to our VGM ancestors. And I wonder what these composers are doing now, who are now significantly much older, right? If they're still around. Do they ever think someone would be reacting to their music someday on the internet, you know? Because whoever was a kid during this time is like in their young to mid 40s now. So a developer or composer is probably like late 50s, 60s at this moment. So crazy. This is a 40-year-old song, dude. Think about that for a second. 40. When I think 40 years old, I think the 60s, not the 80s. Got a minute left. It's still going. That bass line. That bass line is killer. Oh. Listen to this whole outro and everything. Are you kidding? That was a whole production. Oh, it says right here, composed by Martin Galway. Well, Martin, if you ever see this, if for some reason you ever see this, let me know what was going through your mind when you wrote that. Well, how old were you? And just, I don't know, it just seems like it's a very interesting video, right? Because I would say, well, no, there's really no specific pattern here. I get kind of all genres, all eras, different consoles, all that. But the Commodore 64 is one of the most rare on the channel. Maybe like I said, maybe less than 5 songs I've heard. This probably being the 5th, something like that. The one that stuck out to me the most was, oh god, Central Park, something like that. I forgot the game, but it was like Central Park. I think I typed in like Commodore 64 in the title. I'll probably type it in here if I can fit it. So the only thing I know about the Commodore 64 is I think I saw it in a Angry Video Game Nerd video, and it's like it's a computer. But I don't know if at that time it was like a computer, like a personal computer and a console, or if it was made just for gaming. And I don't remember exactly. I could just look all this stuff up, but that's, you know, it's a little boring. I'd rather hear from people that have experience. But I think he uses floppy disks, maybe. Which I can't believe I had so wild floppy disks to think of. Anyways, so yeah, this is 40 years old. It's 2024 right now. I don't know if this was ported, like it came from arcade first and then the Commodore, or if it, you know, I'm not sure if what is the original. You can never really be too sure, but I would have to assume this is the original song from the original game. The one thing I'll say though, and it's not bad, it's just kind of like straight up a limitation, is from all the songs, and I mean this in like just like a really like just a statement. It's not good or bad. But since a lot of the Commodore 64 music sounds so similar because it's like very limited noises, it's kind of hard to pinpoint like to a location, to a setting, to a character. You know, it's just more like there. For example, like I didn't get any like kung fu or anything from that. I just was hearing like electronic noises. Same with all the other ones. They don't sound like they're specific, you know, because it just wasn't there. You know, you couldn't really add as many layers as you wanted to. I'm sure they wanted to. So what I'm saying is, like, I would have never guessed that it's like a kung fu game. You know, it's just, but it does sound like Commodore 64. So it definitely has a stamp of its own sound. But you know, there's no like, oh, okay, that was a river theme or something. You know, there's no, I don't think there's any of that. If there are, let me know. Like, if you get any sort of, you know, unique characteristics from a Commodore 64 song, let me know. But it seems like it's the same like 3 or 4 sounds, which again is cool. So it's not a bad thing. It's just a statement that I just noticed. There was something I was gonna say. I left my brain. Damn it. The more I think about it, the more it's gonna go away. Oh, the length. That seems to be a pattern too. The other ones I've heard too were like long songs, and I would have to imagine the memory was not that big. So, but it's even crazier that they even went that far with it. That shows you how much they wanted to have like cool, unique, original music. They could have easily gone the route of just looping a 30-second song or something, but from what I can tell, that was basically 9 minutes of all progressive melodies. I don't think it looped, maybe. And that's impressive. That's pretty impressive. I don't know what technology was used. at this time. I pretty much know nothing of the Commodore 64, but the fact that it's 40 years old, also, I remember what I was gonna say, is it's timeless. So, again, I don't know how the landscape of 1984 was. I don't know when the crash occurred. I've always heard that my whole life, the video game crash, but I don't know when that occurred. But I can almost guarantee, I can just feel it, that in 1984 it was probably not a thing, like a cool thing to play video games. You were probably a nerd or something, or referred to one as, nowadays you can make it a career, you can stream it, you can react to video game music, But back then it was probably just seen as I would just have to assume it would just be seen as a kind of childish toy or something. And that kind of sucks because, like, let's say you really resonated with the song back then as a kid, but you had no one to share it with or no one to talk to about it with. Maybe like one other person you've known or something, So it always feels like a tight-knit community. So it's always kind of like an honor for me to like show old school music here because, where else would you have found this if you had to kind of go out of your way? Which brings up my next point of Undertale, a game that I recently just did. And that game is, I still don't know anything about that game either. All I know is people tell me to never look anything up and just play it, But the thing is, that game is like, look up any song for Undertale and it'll have millions and millions of views. And a lot of it sounds like this, So the sound was there. People like this stuff. This just came out too early. Or at the right time, however you want to see it. But it's wild to think, right? Like, before the internet, how many people heard this song? I don't know how well the Commodore 64 sold, but you know what I'm saying? Probably wasn't in the millions. And obviously it did well. I'm not saying like Toby Fox, couldn't come up with their own sounds. Obviously they have. He's kind of a legend in that regard, but like a lot of it sounds like this, a lot of it. And obviously that's done very well. It's considered like a cult classic, and every time I upload anything with Undertale in the title, it's going to do really well. But if I upload something with Commodore 64, it may not. And it's very interesting to me as someone who basically listens to video game music as a career. It's odd for me to hear something before my time. Typically most things in the video game world are from like my era up. Not all, obviously. I'm not saying everything. But like when people think of video games, I would have to assume they go from like the SNES, Genesis, so the early 90s up. And then the 80s was like, the late 80s was the beginning of it, like with the Nintendo and whatever else was out there, Famicom, and I don't even know what else, Atari. I know the Atari was there, I know the Commodore 64 was there, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it really like took off until like the early 90s. Let me know though. I was a child at that time, but I don't really hear too much of anything before I was born. It's usually after I was born. That was really cool. And it's, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain. Like, I just have a lot of respect for it. It's longer and more it's doing a lot that a lot of composers don't even do now. That's pretty insane. 9-minute progressive. I don't know. It just seems like such a marvel of its time. It's kind of the whole thing I was thinking the whole time I was hearing it. It was I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know how else to put it besides, the people that were kids when this came out are going to come out and see this, and they're going to feel like this kind of sense of being justified and, like, oh man, I'm so glad someone heard it. And I'm not trying to pat my own back, but I'm just trying to imagine being a kid in the 1980s and having no one to talk to about this kind of stuff. That seems devastating. I kind of relate to that. It was still pretty dorky to talk about video games, especially music, with anyone in the 90s as well. So I don't know. It's just, it's bizarre, but cool. It's super, super cool to me. you know. I'm really grateful that I get to hear stuff from all over the world and all times of our recorded history. It doesn't, it's not just certain things I do. It's just all video game music. So thank you for sharing it to me. I think that's really awesome because I honestly would have never heard this otherwise, and probably most people here. So I think that's really awesome. It's like finding, I don't know, it's like finding some hieroglyphics somewhere. Because, yeah, I don't know. YouTube is great. YouTube is the best. I think one of the best inventions mankind has ever come up with. We can just literally go through a time machine here. What was the other way? You would have to go buy a physical copy and plug it into, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's awesome. So thank you to Cheetah Man, the channel, 91. To Patrick for the request. And let me know whatever you want to know. Whatever you want to tell me about the Commodore, gaming in the 80s. Were you a kid during this? Are you discovering this for the first time like me? I just want to know, I just want to know what people think about this kind of stuff. And if you want to hear more, like I said, I did hear a couple of other ones. Just look up like my name and then like Commodore 64 and a few should come up. My favorite being Central Park. But that was like a nice trip down memory lane, even though I did not go through that memory lane. Yeah, it still feels nostalgic. Very cool. Yai Ar Kung Fu main theme. 9-minute main theme. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you to all my patrons you see here. I cannot be here without them. Thanks to you for watching. My name is Jesse in the auditorium. Take it easy.